All right, coming up, now Joe Biden is regretting naming the Inflation Reduction Act the Inflation Reduction Act, and many can see that coming from a ways off, including branding expert Marc Rudov, who joins us next here on American Agenda. Stay with us.
So does President Biden actually think he's fooling Americans with his so-called Inflation Reduction Act? Well, our next guest says, in fact, he is. Branding advisor Marc Rudov pointing out that inflation, the deficit, and health care costs have all increased since the president announced the so-called Reduction Act.
All right, Marc joins us now along with Lydia Serrani. All right, Marc, he seems to even kind of showing some signs of regret for calling it the Inflation Reduction Act, because inflation really hasn't gone down that much, and I think even gas prices just went back up to $4 a gallon in some places. According to the White House press pool, the president said yesterday, quote, "I wish I hadn't called it that because it has less to do with inflation than it has to do with providing alternatives to generate economic growth." Your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are he's lying once again. In fact, the deficit has gone up $160 billion in the last year. Everything that comes out of his mouth is a lie. All this fake title, all it was, the purpose of it was to funnel money to companies like Proterra, the electric bus company that just went belly up. He's out to attack fossil fuels and run it into the ground. All the prosperity that people feel around the world comes from fossil fuels. And he's part of the World Economic Forum trying to kill fossil fuels. That's what it is. And the reason he said he regrets it now is because inflation is actually going up again. And he's now faced with that, and he doesn't know how to get out of it. So he's wiggling out by saying he wished he hadn't called it that. He also said that we're literally reducing the cost of people being able to meet their basic needs. The opposite is true, especially when they go to the gas pump. So that's where we are. Right. He's lying again. You know, it's interesting. I'm writing a book right now on lying. If I were to devote it to Joe Biden, it would be 5,000 pages long.
We look forward to that 5,000 pages later. Lydia, that President Biden, when he said, I shouldn't have called it that, he mentions alternatives that generate economic growth. To me, a lot of those alternatives are actually, to Marc's point, against fossil fuel and instead on green energy and focusing on climate change. So he slipped all those things into something that had a name that really had nothing to do with what it's all about.
Because he's got to make money.
Right.
That's how they get their kickbacks, and that's what people don't understand. The whole climate agenda, it's all a big hoax. And if you remember, in July 2022, when he first announced this Inflation Reduction Act, this is what he said: the Inflation Reduction Act is the strongest bill you can pass. It will lower inflation, cut the deficit, reduce healthcare costs, tackle the climate crisis, and promote energy security. Yep. Lie, 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 to Marc's point. So he can add another page to his 5,000-page book.
Well, Lydia,
I mean, yeah.
If you notice my graphic, I said that he's promoting a fake climate crisis because there isn't one. And every time he goes up to the microphone, what does he say? It's the existential threat. Not the border, not China, not North Korea, not Iran, not Russia, but the fake climate crisis. And he's doing that just because there are people in this country who just have orgasms over it, and they funnel money to companies like Proterra. And it's really disgusting. He doesn't mind lying. He lies all the time. His whole life is a lie. And you say, aren't Americans smart? By the kind of tweets I see on X, no, a lot of people actually believe whatever Biden says.
Well, at the end of the day, really, it was about spending more money.
Right.
I mean, let's break it all down to its most basic components, and that is government getting bigger, government spending more of your money.
I mean, people can't buy houses anymore. They can't buy cars anymore. If you buy the same house, say, for $500,000 just a few years ago, it's now not affordable when you look at the monthly payment. You go to the grocery store. I do the grocery store shopping. My husband doesn't. Do you? Do you do the shopping?
Some of it.
Oh, good. See, you're a good husband. There you go.
I mean, I do it wrong.
He'll go
I'm told I'm doing it wrong.
He's like, you didn't give me a list. You gotta, I don't know where this is. And I'm like, just ask the clerk, So, I mean, you see, everything's more expensive. Meat, you can't even buy meat anymore. So I guess now they want us to eat bugs,
no, they
be
want
cold,
you to eat bugs. subs, that's right.
Yeah, and being our electric cars stranded in the middle of nowhere. That's what they want, while
Yeah.
they get their kickbacks and get richer and richer.
You know, and Mark, of course, all of this comes as the president is touting Bidenomics, of course, trying to campaign essentially on all of these quote-unquote policies that have been a disaster, as you've pointed out. How does this play out for him? Because Americans certainly are struggling, as Lydia was just pointing out, plus even credit card debt reached $1 trillion. People are tapping their 401k just to get by.
And despite that, Katrina, according to the latest New York Times poll, he's tied with Trump. How can that be? How can he have 43% approval? How can he have more than 3% approval? It doesn't make sense that the country hates what he's doing, and yet he has such high approval ratings. And again, I'm saying the Democrats have not removed him. They're playing games now with a special counsel. They're doing it, the Department of Joe, that's what I call the DOJ. Everything that Merrick Garland said today was a lie. It's for the benefit of the people. No, it's for the benefit of Joe.
Well,
everything is to protect Joe. And so what happened today with this announcement of the special counsel, it's just
Marc,
to slow walk it and protect Joe.
All right,
Don't
Marc,
look at it any other way.
we're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately. Marc Rudov, thanks for joining us. Lydia, stick around.
You bet.